So the next phase, or what we're going to focus on here, is this portion of our road corridor where we're actually cutting through a rock surface. So the gray area you see here that's translucent through our finished design, or through our road, is where our rock surface is. So we've got some fill in here, and then at the other end of the project down in here we're into cut as well. Now, in this case, it looks like you can tell from here, which is kind of nice, is that we're not in rock within that area, but we are in our project in rock up in here. Now we do got some cleanup in here to do, which we'll worry about later, but we're going to do another wall over here to accommodate through that rock cut. But what we want to do is we want to modify our corridor template to have a 1-to-1 slope through a cut area if it's in rock, and a 2-to-1 cut area if it's in fill, or if it's not in rock. So what we'll do is we will go to the corridor and we'll modify this main template. So we're going to come in here and we're going to edit that. Now this is the template that we've got running through majority of our project. And if I come in here, one of the things that you want to do maybe is right click on main and edit, and we want to reference in our rock surface. So I'm going to add that in as a reference surface, and we can see that gets displayed in our cross-section view here. And we're going to get rid of those labels, so I'm going to select this and we'll go to the properties of it, and let's turn off the labels so we don't have to look at those. So we'll close that down. And if we look here, as we start at the beginning of the road and we scroll through, you can see that we're, through that retaining wall, we're in a cut situation here, but here we're not in rock. We're well above the rock, so we're at a 2-to-1, and that's fine. That's acceptable. But as we get closer down to this other end, now we're into our fill area, and now we start getting into this area in here. You can see where we start to move into station 15. We start to get into that rock. All right, so we start cutting through that rock. So when we get through the rock, we want to cut at a 1 rather than a 2-to-1. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in an instruction, and the instruction we're going to add in is a conditional instruction. So we'll come down here, we'll pick conditional, and for a description we'll just call it rock. We'll just call it rock cut. So the condition is going to be if, and the if is if the node is below the surface, and the node that we're referring to is node number 9, and which is this node right here, right? If that node is below the rock surface, and the rock surface is selected here, we're going to add that condition. It's going to go through and build the data for us. So if it is below, what we want to do is we're going to add a side slope, and that side slope is going to come from node number 9. It's going to target the rock surface, and if it's in cut, it's going to go to the 1-to-1. We'll still keep our ditch, and we'll go to a 2-to-1 if in fill, and we will call this rock, call that rock daylight. So we'll add that. And then we'll have to do some other moving around. So now you can see that it's tying in to that rock surface there. So then, maybe we want to add in a bench, or we want to add another daylight to this here. So what we'll do is we will add another offset slope, and we will go from 11, and we will offset a -10, let's say. Actually, let's just, we'll go -5. And we'll put in a slope of a +1%. Put +1%. We'll give this a name, we'll call it bench. And we will add that. So that's going to put a bench up here, again under the same condition. So if this condition is happening, we're going to do this, we're going to put a bench in, and then from there we'll do another side slope. What we'll do here is we'll just cut back out from point 12, all right, so we'll go side slope, from the bench, and we're going to target the original ground surface. But in this time, because we are going through regular surface here, maybe a little bit of rock, but we're fine. We're just going to cut it back at a 2-to-1, and we won't put a ditch in, so we'll select 0, and we'll just go 2 for fill, and we'll just call this daylight OG, and we'll add that. So it's going to add that piece in there. Then we'll add one more condition, because we got to tell it what happens if it's not in rock. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in another conditional template, and this will be the basically else, or we'll say node above rock, and this is going to be the else statement. So you can do, there's a couple other statements you can do, but this will be the else. So basically, if it doesn't meet this first condition here, which is the side slope, then it's going to go down and do what's next. So the else, what happens here is, actually we want this to come up to that one, because we want that to be part of that condition. And then we want this side slope actually to go below this condition here. So basically what's going to happen is if that node doesn't fall below the rock, then it's just going to do the normal 2-to-1 cut. So you can see now it's not being applied to there. But if I go back to the front where we are in rock, you can see here that it's just doing the 2-to-1 cut because it's not below the rock. But then as we come down and we get towards 15, you can see here we're in rock, and there's a spot right a little bit more. Let's go 1500. Okay, so here we're right at 1500, we're above the rock still, but then as we get into the rock, it starts to change the slope. So depending on whether it's above the rock or not. Okay, so now that we have that, we can close that, and what we'll do is we'll just rebuild our surface here, because now it's going to adjust for that. Let's go and we'll turn off, well, we won't worry about that, that's fine, that's a normal message. Let's turn off our original ground surface, and now you'll see that when we're cutting through the rock, we have our bench, we have our 1-to-1 slope, right? So if we turn off the rock here, you can see it's a little bit better. So we're coming through, we're cutting in, and then we've got our normal 2-to-1 cut the rest of the way through the project. Okay. Now we do got some cleanup like over here we need to do, but that's kind of how, or one way that you can add in that conditional template to determine whether you're in a rock cut or above or below the rock, and have a different slope or a different condition happen depending on what that if or else statement determines.